In the gospel, we just heard from Matthew, a lot of fishing going on. Brothers are fishing. In the ancient world, fishing was a metaphor for two distinct activities: judgment and teaching. Fishing for people, it meant bringing people to justice, drawing them from their hideout places and setting them before the judge. It was in that sense when Jesus compared the kingdom of heaven to a dragnet, which gathers all the fish and then brought to the shore and then separated the good from the bad. Fishing as teaching people meant leading them from ignorance to wisdom. It is in this sense when Jesus told Peter, "I will make you a fisher of men. I will make you a leader to bring people from ignorance to faith, to wisdom." Both these cases involve a radical change of environment. Both these involve a break from the former way of life and an entrance into the new way of life. Sometimes, for us, in order to listen to the voice of Jesus, we need to be called out from our ordinariness in life in order to experience that extraordinary. We need to be called out from our ordinary life. And that's what's happening in today's gospel. Jesus sees two brothers fishing and he approaches them, Peter and Andrew. These two brothers were doing their routine work, what they do every day, casting their nets. And Jesus tells them, "Come and follow me." And they leave behind everything, what they have been routinely doing, their everyday work, life, the things they were used to do, and they follow Jesus. Very powerful response. Leaving behind their routine work, the things they got used to doing every day, and then they follow Jesus. A little while later, Jesus sees two other brothers, James and John, and he tells them the same thing, "Come, follow me." James and John, they have been mending their nets, getting ready for a catch. And they not only leave their tools of income, but also their father with whom they have worked every day, at whose feet they probably might have learned this art of fishing. A radical response. Perhaps yes. But what we need to remember here is that in all these four disciples' lives and their families, their lives have been interrupted. Leaving behind a part of life in order to take up another part of life. It's a radical change. What is noticeable here is that these four brothers, Peter, Andrew, James, and John, did not leave their life behind at a convenient time. No. They walked away from a job, walked away from family, walked away from their security, The gospel does not explain why they did that. Maybe they were looking for something more in their everyday life besides just the fish, the boat, days at sea. Probably they were looking for something more. Maybe they were restless, curious. Maybe as Jesus was talking to them, their hearts were burning, which they could not define. Just like those two disciples on the road to Emmaus, after Jesus' resurrection, Jesus joins them as a stranger and talks with them, and as he explains the scriptures, their hearts were burning. Or maybe those 4 fishermen could not follow Jesus. They just couldn't not follow Jesus when Jesus invited them. But whatever it was, they abandoned everything and followed Jesus. Whether we realize it or not, that is the choice we face as we listen to this gospel today and every day. We are just like those 4 disciples. We may not be fishermen. We are in the Midwest, no sea. But what we do have is we have nets. The world that we know, the world that is convenient to us, the things that we are used to every day, those things that may hinder us from becoming that ardent, zealous, passionate disciple of Jesus. They are the kind of net in which we ourselves get entangled. Maybe a sin or an addiction or a habit, or maybe despair and hopelessness. To most of us, you and me, the net in which we get entangled the most is the net of mediocrity, getting settled, just getting by, being happy, satisfied with just being ordinary. That's most of us face in our spiritual life, in our relation with God. So Jesus today invites us to look deeper into our hearts and see what are those nets that we find difficult to leave behind. The other beautiful lesson that Jesus teaches us today is that when these 4 fishermen, they left their life behind, they did not do it alone. They went in pairs. Peter and Andrew, James and John. The beautiful message is that being a disciple of Jesus Christ is never a solitary act. Being a Christian always involves many others. And our early Christians, they knew it very well. Whenever they gathered together as a community. They prayed together. They celebrated Eucharist together. They preached together. They went on missionary journeys together. Together they were persecuted. Together they were martyred. In the community, they found that sustenance. They found strength in times of suffering and in joyful times. So do we. Our gathering this evening is that continuation of what began with those 4 disciples in today's gospel story. Since they accepted the call of Jesus and gathered, the gathering has been continuing even to this day. This evening we gather to share our love for God, to share our love for one another, and to share that gospel message. So we need to rejoice. Sometimes we find it difficult to come together. We take it as an obligation. But when we come together and worship as a community, the body of Christ is uplifted. And so do we. We are uplifted. It's a joyful celebration, gathering. And we can be proud that our parish has 3,100 families. Every weekend we come together and continue what Peter and Andrew, James and John began in today's gospel with Jesus, responding to that call. So today let us take heart. Let us ask for the grace and the strength to respond every day to the call of Jesus, just like Peter and Andrew, James and John responded.